This is something I really enjoy doing. But back then, my mom, dad thought, what's wrong with this kid? I was like almost in tears. Like I didn't know what to do because, and it started off there. And that film, I got selected at 11 international film festivals. In your entire life, this is the first time I'm seeing you working this hard.
हाय। मैं एक्चुअली सोच रही थी कि इस पर्टिकुलर फोन के बजट में हम लोग क्या क्या कर सकते हैं। आपने कभी ऐसा सोचा है? नहीं ना। बट हमारे आज के जो असमी शो के गेस्ट हैं वो थोड़ा हटके सोचते हैं। ही स्टार्टेड स्टडिंग इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग, बट कुछ दिन के बाद उन्हें लगा कि मुझे अपना पैशन फॉलो करना चाहिए एंड ही स्टार्टेड फिल्म मेकिंग। यही नहीं, उन्होंने जो अच्छी अच्छी मूवीज बनाई उनमें से एक मूवी आजकल जियो सिनेमा पे प्ले हो रही है, कॉल्ड द सर्वाइवर। इस मूवी की जो हटके बात है वो कि ये पूरी एक्शन मूवी है जो कि एकदम धमाकेदार हॉलीवुड स्टाइल में बनाई गई है। बट this particular movie has been made in a budget which is less than the cost of this particular phone. और यही नहीं, this particular movie has won 19 international awards. So आज हम आपको मिलाने जा रहे हैं रजत रजनीकांत से, who is an actor, filmmaker and a rising talented movie star. और उसके लिए हम आपको लेके चलेंगे अपने स्टूडियो में shortly. Let's go. Okay, Rajat, first of all, thank you so much for taking out time and coming to our podcast. I would like to ask you, first of all, starting from electrical engineering and then suddenly moving to filmmaking, what gave you this shift and what made you change your mindset so drastically?
Well, initially, while growing up, my father used to collect a lot of DVDs at home. So that sort of became a huge impact about how I'm going to, how I perceive movies and how I, enjoy watching them. And we had like cupboards of DVDs because back then no OTTs and all of that.
Correct.
So we started collecting and I started watching. And then in the end, every movie that I used to watch, it used to sit in my head. And I used to recreate the same scenes and make the sounds with my mouth, like be it some sort of an action sequence or some dialogue. So I used to enact that. And that used to be my playtime. And post that, I was like, this is something I really enjoy doing. But back then, my mom, dad thought, what's wrong with this kid? Why is he, talking to himself and making weird sounds like with vehicles and I don't know, like blasts and all of that. And but back then, I knew that, I was so engrossed into this. Years later, I realized that what I used to do for years helped me to gain the visualization to actually, put myself on screen and, I love to entertain people, something like if I'm doing something, somebody looks at me and they laugh, I don't know, do any sort of reaction, I used to feel like happy, like I wanted that sort of attention. And then I'm like, okay, you know what, if I'm enjoying this, then there is a life and a profession that I can make out of this. And that sort of put me
That's
into
amazing.
this.
I think if I would have changed my playtime into my career, I would have become a housewife because those days we always used to play that Gudda Gudiya and
Yeah,
Ghar Ghar
yeah,
Ka
yeah,
game.
yeah.
That is what we were actually doing. So good to know about all these things. So movie making was not a very easy path for you, very clearly, because you are not coming from that household and it is not completely, you have a house of engineers.
Yes.
Right? And then suddenly getting into that, how difficult was it to move to that path?
It initially I had to gain a lot of trust from my parents, even to discuss the situation. It was a time where I was, almost done with my first year, and I was in my examination hall. I finished the exams. I knew that I had written it average, and I just went to the washroom and I was like almost in tears. Like I didn't know what to do because I had this pressure that both my mom and dad, they are like very like good engineers and they have a lot of they're known in the university that I was in. So even from the dean to the HOD to the all the professors, they knew who my dad and my mom were, and then they assumed that I had the same intellect and the intelligence. But maybe I did, but it was not in that particular field. It
I
was
was
completely
about to
different.
say that you can't compare your intellect only because you are an engineer. I think those era and those days are gone when only
Yeah.
medical students and your engineers are were the intellectual ones. Nowadays, I think intellect comes in art form also, which you are
Yes.
pursuing
Yes.
beautifully.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
let's talk more about continue what you were
Yeah,
talking
so
about.
after that I just went back home from that day, and I just told my mother that I don't want to do this, I cannot take this up anymore. I had been hinting at them saying that this is not my strong point. And when I told this, it's sort of like, there was like arguments and this and that for almost like 2 3 weeks at home. And I told them that, you can send me back, it's going to be 4 years, but I don't know if I'll fare well out of it. Like, you're paying all that for, tuition fees or the, university fees and everything. And I need to make something out of it, right? If I don't do anything, if you just average, then what's the point in taking such a degree? Because there are so many engineers every day that come out. So that point sort of, stuck with my mom and dad. They realized, okay, yeah, I mean, if he's not going to do it well, then we need to put him in a place where he can do well, right? So then we sat down, we tried to figure out what my interests are and where I really wanted to go. And filming is something that I wanted to do, be a film, be an actor, make movies that I have seen growing up. I wanted to do the same thing. And how do I do that? I had no clue that colleges or universities today teach filmmaking. So the closest I was to find in creative art form was fashion designing. So I was this close to actually getting into fashion designing,
Designing.
because I had an option between fashion designing and animation. I did not want to do animation because that was totally different than what I wanted to do, and fashion designing was the only creative field, and I had to take up some degree at least. So I was about to go for that, and I received a call from one of my friend's friend, because I had discussed about this to a few people, and then they were like, why don't you join a filmmaking course? And I'm like, if there is, I would. And that's when I came across a university back then in St. Joseph's, Bangalore, which had completely dedicated itself to filmmaking from visual communication. Viscom is a branch that most of the arts and science colleges have, but filmmaking, like, nowadays it's coming up, but back in 2016, 2015, it was not there. So then I figured out, and then I went to the college, but the admission that year was over. So I had to. So my mom was like, what, we have paid the fees for this year. Continue, finish this year off, and then from next year you can break away and join ahead. And that's when my dad told me, like, if you want to make a mark, you need to leave a big mark. Otherwise, you'll just bounce back up. And at that point, I just realized that firstly, I need to prove it to myself whether I'm capable of this or not, and then I have to prove it to my parents so that they can continue to support me and uh, align with my thoughts to go ahead. So that was the crux, the turning point. That 1.5 months was like, I don't even know how it went by, because I know there was so many arguments and this and that, and in the end, I was like, thank God, like they were. And for them also, it was like a transformational journey, because they've also come up from their families thinking that engineering, doctor, or MBA has to be like the main thing. And so I understand from their perspective as to how, when their eldest son in the house is suddenly switching from something and going elsewhere, what is he going to do? How is his life going to turn
And
out?
you were like the icon who's going to lead the way for the younger generation, also the younger one as well.
Yeah,
So,
because I have my younger brother who's
yeah,
6 years younger to me, and back then he was in school, and he's coming up, and he is always looking at me, and why is this guy acting like this? Or he did not understand much of it.
of course.
But obviously, at one point, my mom, dad, more than a role model, they wanted to know whether I can stand on my own 2 feet, right? So that was the main thing. So they were like, you're changing out from a course that guaranteed our futures, like their futures. They are here because they did engineering and whatnot, and they're here through their caliber. But I did not have that. My interests were different. My vision was different, and so I had to prove it to myself, right? Like, whether I'm capable of it or not, and then show that to my parents, and then to people outside, so that I can get a platform for
And
it.
now things are better. I mean, post all the awards and all the international fame that you
Oh,
have received.
yeah, yeah. Actually, so this is not like, no, this is not my first film. So before, back in college, we had to make films, right? So the first one that I did was my on third year, which is my final year project, which I had to make, and that was sort of the turning point for them to realize how much or what I'm actually capable of doing. So I did this small short film, which was actually a dystopian film, trying to showcase water crisis and we did not. We went to locations outside Bangalore in such a place that you won't even realize that this is Bangalore. It looks like a desert. So we went to such spots, and just me and another friend, and actually even pulled my brother in the end to shoot it. I was like, he's like, I've never handled a camera before. I was like, I'll just show you, just keep that camera. I'll just do what I want, in front of it. It was like a one-on-one thing that we did, and it started off there. And that film, I got selected at 11 international film festivals and won two of them. So that sort of back then
Opened that gateway of getting the
mental
awards.
gateway, I would say, like to my parents at least, like this is matlab hai kuch mein, matlab
कुछ है
kuch hai
इसके
isme.
अंदर.
And then I was like, okay, if this is, I'm capable of doing this, let's try to do something else, because it was my third year ending. And that's when Padmavat had released, and I'm a huge fan of Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and I was like, I was a big fan of Ranveer. I mean, I am a big fan of Ranveer Singh, but back then it was थोड़ा और मतलब कुछ और लेवल में मतलब मैं सोच रहा था. And then I was like, I need to do something with this, and my thesis work in my final year was on three directors who have done period drama in India, and one of them was Sanjay Leela Bansal. So I had done my research on him properly, and so that sort of like really made me want to have something like this. And that is when I told my friends. So this was in 2018 Jan. I told my friends, you know what, my filmmaking friends, my classmates, saying that, I want to recreate a song from Padmavat. The song is there's a song called Binte Dil.
Binte Dil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told them, you know what, let's recreate this. Everybody laughed. They're like, dude, you want to recreate a Bansali song? Where will you do it? How are you going to fund this? But that sort of sat in my head. Somebody tells me that probably that's not going to happen. It sits in my head. Like it just like sort of touches me from within. I'm like, you know what? I have to prove. Yeah, I have to prove it to you that I can do this.
Amazing.
So that planning started off in Jan, and back then I did not have so much of at least what little knowledge I have about filmmaking. It was very less also back then. So it took me a lot of time. December 2018, December, I figured out how to do this, and I spoke to a lot of event management agencies, because they do a lot of, they put up tents and all of that. So I told them that, this is my requirement. That was a very weird requirement they got. Usually something for events, but this guy is like, they did not know, what are you creating? Like, I'm like, just do this. And then I went to Whatnot to create an entire makeshift set of a period film, like how you see it in the movie. I created that entire thing with the help of these event management people on my terrace. And so in the song he sits in a tub, like there's an old style era of, where he sits inside that wooden tub, and where do I get that? I can't go, because that was created for that movie. So I was like, kuch jugaad karte hain. So on Amazon I ordered this big inflatable tub. On that tub, I put these rice sacks, the covers that come, the rice sack, which are like brown. I arranged all of this, just put water on it. It became like a wooden texture.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, now tub is ready, tent is ready. And then I was like, I wanted to do a frame to frame recreation. But I did not have that much of a length, right? Because there the set is almost 100 feet or something.
They take days together to shoot a song.
Yeah, they took days together, and here I'm renting the tarpaulin sheets. I am, renting lights, renting a camera. I had people to do it, but why will they give their money? I'll have to pay. And me, as in my father has to pay. I'm not earning, right? So it started off like that, and then I told 11 of my friends to come, because I needed a lot of help with fire and everything, because there's a lot of fire. How do you light? Yeah, and I don't know how to handle fire. Like fire as in on set, on prop, when you want to put the gasoline on top of it, and then with the wet cloth you light it up. It's very dangerous. It's pretty huge flame, right? So how do you manage all of that? So I needed people. So it took 1.5 months of just prep, without constructing anything, just mental prep and proper designing, which I had to go from place to place, because who's going to do it for me? Nobody's going to do it. And all I had, the budget was for just 2 nights. And we can't shoot during the day. Why? Because it's sunlight. The entire song happens in night. So I had just 2 nights with me. During the daytime, it's useless. I can't. The set is there. I'm paying the rent for it, but it's no use. So 2 nights is all I had, and and they were there like all throughout, right? I cannot keep making them come, because they're going to lose their sleep. It is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Correct. That was the call time that I told them. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is what we're going to shoot, and we had 4 different backdrops, and we did all of them against the same background. So we shot all the scenes with one. If there's a pool, if that tub scene is there from starting to end, whatever tub scenes are there, we shot it. Removed the tub. I am in that getup with all that hair and the fake beard and everything. And we put up the bed to do the bed shots, and then we removed the bed. Then we later put the mirror scenes where he comes and looks at himself. And I needed 2-3 women to come on board, but they were not so comfortable in doing a few scenes. Finally, I found one woman who was like, let's just do it. And we had that. So it was like a marathon for 2 nights.
Oh
None
my
of us slept.
God.
I thought did not sleep at all. That point is when my mom and dad realized that how much of hard work I put. Yeah, that's like she gave it told me, she's like, in my whole entire life, in your entire life, this is the first time I'm seeing you working this hard. I mean, if you had probably done the same thing in engineering, you would have gone.
Passion speaks for itself,
Yeah.
and you can't help it. But beautiful story around just a song that you shot and recreated it. It's there on YouTube already, and you can
Yes.
tell the viewers to watch it if they want to take a reference
Yeah,
of what
please
exactly
do go
you
ahead
did.
and watch it. It's there on my Instagram as well. And we actually reached out to the costume. I wanted to show it to some person from the team of Padmavat. So I was able to reach out to the costume designer of Padmavat. He had actually won the award for it. So I showed him the song. He liked it. Yeah. So I was like, something, to do that.
That itself is like so much of confidence and reaffirmation that yes, I'm on the right path, that somebody from the team is actually appraising you.
Yeah.
But more than this, I want to talk about your big project, which is The Survivor. I have seen that movie myself, and it doesn't look like that you have created this movie in the small budget that we are talking about. I mean, somebody can buy an iPhone in the same budget that you have created the whole movie in, and it is a Hollywood style action movie. How did you manage it?
So there's a small backstory, firstly, to how people agreed to do that with me. So just the year before, which was in 2020,
Yeah.
lockdown hit. I came back from Mumbai where I was doing my acting course,
Yeah.
and then I was clueless what to do. And at that point, there was a series called Money Heist that it came out
Correct.
on Netflix. So I was like, again, same kida that happened during Bintadil. I was so obsessed with this. I was like, I want to recreate this again. But this time I want to do something different. They had season 4 coming out. So I was like, I'll give a new concept, which obviously they won't use. Why would they? But in my mind, I thought a lot of variations, and I was like, let's give a concept. Converted my entire room into that set. Had my brother, because nobody else, locked down, nobody can move out. So in my house, I learned Spanish a little bit, the dialogues.
You learned Spanish for that.
Yeah, because it's a Spanish
specifically.
series. So I just
Wow.
wanted to keep that authentic. And I tried to give the same look. The main character called the professor in it.
Yeah.
So it's played by an actor named Alvaro Morte in Spain. So I really was so obsessed. I did that. And once I released it, it sort of became a little viral on Instagram because at that time it was the heat of Money Heist everywhere. So a lot of people from Spain started reaching out, saying that this is the fan pages and everybody. And I was also able to reach out to main actors from the series itself. They commented
Wow.
on the post. The director and the executive producer, I messaged me on Instagram saying that this
Amazing.
is the concept that you've done and the way you've showed it, it's really amazing. So that sort of made me really happy. But they said, I mean, obviously I could not go anything more than that because they also had their own idea coming in, so I understood that. And towards the end, Netflix also invited me to be part of that event by letting me to ask few questions to the panel, to the actors. It was pre-recorded, but doing that, a small thing. So that all of this, sort of made my friends, to at least 3 to 4 of them, ask me that if you have anything in your mind next, please take us along. We'll just work together. I was like, okay, if you're asking, then okay, then let's do. And I always wanted to do action.
Correct.
And the reason this time was, apart from me loving action, was also to create a. So if you do something that's difficult, and you sort of do it average or even a little bit above average, and people know that it's difficult to do so, people look at you more, right? Because it's not something easy you've done. You've tried something, you've given a try at something really hard. So with that, mindset, I went to, took up action, and I wrote the script 2020 ending 2021. By 2021 March, I was done with the script. I'm so, since I'm like a huge fan of espionage and spy thrillers, so I sort of made the story around that. And after that, you're growing up seeing so many movies, including my brother. He has a very like a proper keen eye for cinematic language and cinematic, the feel that you get. So he sort of helped me out with it, and we both could visualize it as and when I was writing that these are the scenes, this is how I want it to be. And then I pitched it to my friends. Script is ready. Let's do this. Nobody came forward because they were like, okay, we thought we'll work together, but this is something that we have never done. I was like, I've also not done. Let's do it. No, but no. I did not. Initially, they were very like few of them were leaving the country for pursuing further courses, so I could not get them. And I was two people whom I found, Sham and Pranav. So they were like, they heard me. They were like, okay, this is a good story. We'll work it out, but we need to find a cinematographer. That's the main. Somebody's got to shoot you, right? Somebody's got to make the whole film. So initially, the people whom I got, like one or two of them did not work out, and a third, one of my friend who's also my junior from the same filmmaking college, he initially said yes, but then he had a doubt whether he'll be able to do this or not. So 1 month again went like constantly figuring. I was like this close to having my brother doing the same thing again, but he's also getting into college, right? I cannot ask him to do this again. Okay, it was lockdown back then; he could have done it, but not right now. And this is a lot to do. And immediately just comes back one day and saying that if you've
How
not,
many days did you take to finish the whole movie?
it took around 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, because nobody's working on a schedule, right?
Correct.
I'm not paying them to give their time. Whenever they're free, they'll come and do it.
Sure.
So that's how it was done. And we started. So he came back, Suraj. His name is Suraj, and he said, "Yeah, let's do this. If you've not found any cinematographer, I'm in." That was a good thing actually, in a way, because the previous person whom I wanted to actually work with, as I said, right, due to some reasons I could not get in touch. He just went away, and I was left stranded completely. So it was like a blessing in disguise that this guy came in, and very good, like the way we bonded over, and the way he shot it, and the way I wanted it to be, the visualization, because there's no other director. I had to direct it by myself because you have written it. Like if you write the film, you know best how it needs to come out. So we started shooting in August. We did the simple scenes first, and since it involved a lot of fight choreography and action, as we went ahead, we started
You had
recruiting
an action
people.
director? There was no action
I'm
director.
only the action director.
You did everything.
Yeah, because since I watched action movies through my life, like entirely, right, I had an idea, fair idea as to how it's done, and so it's very simple. So if you have
Did
a
you practice all those stunts, etc.
yes,
that
yes,
you did?
yes, just like one day. So the trick is this: in action, what happens is they do two things. One thing, if you have a good choreographer and you have proper time to practice, the amount of cuts that you give in an action scene reduces, because it's like a dance choreography, right? So the
Correct.
entire choreography is seen clearly. Here I cannot. Nobody is good in action now. Even I'm also not. I've not gotten any formal training in it.
But it doesn't seem like that. When you see the movie, it looks like there is an action director who's actually directed it.
As
It
because
is
of the
done
cuts,
so well.
it's the editing. So I learned how to do action editing. Like there is a separate way how you edit action and how to get the effect and everything. Sound is entirely a different topic, but just the visual edit of an action, of a fight choreography, helps people who have, like, if the choreography is weak or if the person is untrained, how do you make that person look like he's a professional without making without training a lot. So I went with that, obviously, because I had no other option. So that's how it happened. And as we went ahead, we recruited people. Like whoever was interested, I was like, come join us, do it. So I kept editing side by side, showed them the visuals and everything. And during that time, I met with a person. His name is Justin. So he runs a company which sorts of recruits media rights for a lot of songs in the Kannada and the Tamil industry. So I met him, and then he was like, if you I needed his office space. So then he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing something like this. And he's like, he was very interested. He wanted to join in, help out in any way he can. And I was like, okay, cool.
So was he also given a role?
No. He was not
Just the office space.
Yeah, just the office space. I wanted to do it. He wanted to come on board as like the producer and help us with some sort of promotions and all of that. Because I had no idea. I hadn't given my thought about promotions at all, because I was so hell bent on getting this one done first. Because it took a lot of time, right? 2021, 2020 I started writing the script, ending 2021 August we started shooting. By December there was the first lockdown for the COVID, the first wave. So the second or something, I forgot. I think the first. So that happened, and then none of us could shoot. We had to wait it out, and that's when I did all the editing that I could. to get it done. And the fight choreography itself took a lot of time, because even though it comes 11 seconds on screen, it took us 3 days to shoot.
Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah,
that.
yeah, so that took a lot. And then in a way I started, I made it in a way that I did not have to spend a lot, because it's my father who's funding this. I cannot ask him for more. So in my mind, the entire time I was shooting or making, or from the writing the script, from the point of view, it was to make it as low cost as possible. Like, be it in a location, if somebody's asking for a lot of money, okay, how do I get a similar location for free but not pays, and yet stick to the script. So a lot of jugaad went into
Lot of
this. A
jugaad,
lot of
I'm
jugaad went
sure.
into this.
But what you have done, actually, Rajat, is opened up the mindset of many of our viewers, many of the people who are actually thinking about and not being able to jump into it. And somewhere those talent is getting wasted and lost. You have given an inspiration to them to do something about it. So that is what I really liked about you, that if you have thought about it in the head, it actually happens, whatever you think about. So that's amazing. I want to also talk about Axel Chase, the key character that you have played in The Survivor. He was actually an experimental thing which actually goes wrong, and he acquired a lot of skills. How much do you relate to that person? I know he was very robotic and all, but your also life story is around that only. There was an accidental chemical engineering that was sorry, electrical
Electrical,
in
yeah.
engineering that was supposed to happen, and then you acquired filmmaking, and now you've got so many skills now to talk about.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, actually, there's so many skills that you say. Actually, I'm focusing on only one skill, which is to be in front of the camera. But in
Camera.
order to get myself there, I had to learn everything else, because initially nobody's just going to take you and put you there. So that's how it started. And to my real life, for the character, I would say in a way that he takes that he the character in the movie is pretty lonely. Like, he does not have anybody immediate, like, people, or he doesn't like socialize much on this. Obviously, like, the backstory I had for the character was also very similar. Like, he's just minding his own work and trying to do something, and suddenly this thing falls in place, and he's trying to come out of that situation in the best way he thinks he can. So the same thing, in that way I sort of relate to it, because even in real life I don't keep many friends, barely any. My social life back when I was in PU, that was the max. Ever since I decided to leave engineering and take this up. It's been like completely like a solo journey. There's nobody that I keep very close to me at all. It's the only people I like being close to are the people whom I work with, my friends, who part of this film and everything. So I for them, like, with them I'm always like, I don't meet them on a regular basis, because they also have their own work. They keep traveling from one place to the other. So but that's the only good relation I have with anybody. It's with them. So apart from that, there's nobody who's non-work oriented that I'm close to. So that's the one thing I can relate. Apart from that, the character over there is it's completely different. It's sort of inspired from. There is a trilogy which was turned into a movie called the Bourne trilogy, Bourne,
Ah,
Bourne.
yeah, correct.
Yeah, so the
Jason
character
Bourne.
Jason Bourne was something that I was very fascinated about, and I
Fascinated
have
about.
read books about from Robert Ludlum, who's the author of the creator of the character. So that sort of sat in my head, and I'm like, why don't I take some inspiration from this and script out a character on my own? And that's when the pandemic and all had happened, right? So I had to somehow justify that the character is wearing mask or people are wearing masks, because we couldn't go out much without wearing
Correct.
masks. So I sort of got that element in, and then wrote the story around that.
Nice, nice. And post all the awards, you got almost like 19 global awards. So, post that award, has things changed for you? Has people who have started looking at you, teachers, your friends, your relatives, has things changed literally for you?
Uh, Perception has changed.
Haha,
That's the main thing that has changed.
correct.
Perception has changed, and obviously expectations have changed a lot now. Because back then I never told anybody what I'm doing. Even now I don't tell until something major happens. Okay,
Yeah.
this was one film that I did on my own. But like, professionally speaking, career-wise, getting a platform and then going ahead. Uh, uh, because initially when somebody asks you, what you're doing, somebody says, oh, I'm doing MBA. Somebody says, oh, I'm working in this company, or I'm working in that company. I hold this position. I'm working in that position. When you ask me and I'm saying, I'm an actor and a filmmaker, they look at me. actor, filmmaker. So I never really felt confident enough to tell it out to any, even to my own relatives. So I barely attend any family functions because of that. So I was like, why do I even have to? At one point of time, I think, I don't know if it was to my relatives or to my friends, like people whom I know that I won't meet again very often. So people used to ask me, I used to give random company names. I work here, I work there, so that the conversation ends.
And
If I tell this, they start asking, oh, is it? So what's your future plan? How are you going to do? What's your plan B? What's your backup? What's your this? What's your that? I can't keep having the same conversation with everybody. And when I myself am trying to figure out most of it, like here and there. So
right.
I was like, to end that conversation, you just say a company's name. They will, oh, okay, fine, good. Just move on. So that's how it happened. So right now that perception has changed. They know that I can do something in this field. And since it's been very recent, like if you look at it in a way, it's very recent because the film just released 5 months ago. So from since that time, we've been just focusing on. I've been mainly focusing on promotions because we don't have any marketing agency. There's literally zero marketing, and I don't have that many funds also to do it. To give such sort of an elaborate marketing. So my entire whatever that you have seen, the interviews or the publications that came out, has all been organic. So there's no payment anywhere. I approached them on LinkedIn asking them, see, this is the thing that I have done, this is the budget that I have spent, these are the awards I've got, this is the trailer. If you like all of this, then it would help me
I
to
think
reach this
somewhere
out.
it got Best Trailer Award as well. I read it.
Yeah, we got three or to four best trailer
Best
awards.
Trailer
Yeah, it
Award
was in
as well.
Cannes World Film Festival only. So we got best action film and best trailer.
And you personally received Best Actor Award as well.
Yeah, I received three Best Actor awards. One from Toronto Film Festival, it's called ALTFF, and then one from Rameshwaram International Film Festival,
Yes.
and then one from Rome International Movie Awards, RIMA.
Amazing.
So
I mean, for an actor, I think getting that award of Best
yeah,
Actor is
that sort of made me really, at one point, it just made from that inside you get that cushion, like something is.
this is something that
Yeah,
I want
this
to
is
do.
because I on this my acting I could barely focus 30%,
Yeah.
or that's the max I would say,
Yeah,
because
I
the rest
understand.
70 there is so much for me to do. I need to make sure other people are doing it. I need to make sure
You are the
my hand
actor,
is
you are
there everything.
everything.
Yeah, it's my hand is there in everything. So on acting I could just focus barely to 30% because my mind is all over the place. So in spite of that, I was able to get three of them who recognized me in my acting, profession, and sort of made me happy. I'm like, okay,
But what I can say is that you're a pool of talent, very clearly, very skillful person, because coming up with in such a short span of time with such a brilliant movie and getting so many awards at the same time, that itself is gratification and saying that yes, I have done it, and many people are inspired. I'm sure about it. I saw your interview on Brute and I was like, this, you have to be here on my podcast very clearly, then I have to interview you. And I'm amazed by the wonderful work that you have done, and now that we are getting to know about the backstories as well, then it actually we can figure out that how much hard work and passion has gone into it. With what we see outside is not always what is inside. The depth is really, really high. It's amazing. I mean, it was wonderful having you here, and I wish that this conversation can go on and I could learn more from you. But unfortunately, we have got a time limit to the
yeah, I
podcast,
understand.
and we have to bring an end to it. But I'm not going to let you go just as yet because we have got a very special rapid fire round. In this, you have to go very, very small word answers.
Sure.
Okay, very quick ones. And this is away from the topic that we are discussing over here.
Sure.
This is all about you, all about
Done.
Rajat. We want to
Okay.
know more about Rajat.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so what's your favorite food?
Our favorite food, noodles.
Noodles.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Chinese is what you like.
Exactly, I would say it is basil noodles. Yeah, Thai.
Thai
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
Okay. How would you spend an ideal evening like?
Ideal evening, just relax and keep working my mind a lot to figure out what I'm going to do months down the lane. That's a lot that I do. That sort of relaxes because when you get the time to think about what you want to plan, I think many people call it overthinking, wasting time, but that overthinking is needed here.
Planning is always going
Yeah,
on.
planning is always going on.
And how would you like to go for your vacation? You are a beach person, mountain person.
I'm both. I love both, but I need a balance of both. If I've gone previous to a hill station or like a hilly mountain area, the next thing I want to see is like a beach. And if I've seen the beach, then I want to go back to the hills. So it's either
Yes.
this or that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either or you can get a beach with the mountains. That was the best.
Yeah, that would be good. If you're on an island or something, you find both, then yeah. But I like the cold weather more than,
Ah,
yeah. That's something that I really, even if I'm hitting the beach, if it's too hot, then I lose the mood. But if it's cold, I love cold
so you
temperatures.
need cold beaches.
Yeah, like evenings, if during the winters, if you go to a beach and it's not that hot. So yeah.
Good, good. And what's the typical, how are you dressed? Casually, or you like those formal wears, suits and blazers, or what's your
I have very limited clothing actually. Like, yeah,
what's your style? How would you go out if you have been called somewhere? How would you
being
typically
called
dress?
somewhere, then yeah, I have to like wear some sort of a jeans or like a full arm or like a t-shirt that I wear and I go. But if I'm not called, if I have to like literally just let that go out and just come back, it's always in my chappals and my shorts and probably one t-shirt that I put on and just go. So and people are saying, no, no, you need to put a lot more into how you dress now, and I'm like,
No,
okay, yeah,
yes.
okay, I'll give my head into it.
That's amazing. I was about to ask you action movie or romantic or whatever, but I know the answer now.
No, but actually, I love both.
Really?
Yeah, because I could not, because romance at least gives you that bandwidth to act. Yeah, right. So my profession as an my passion as an actor, it allows me to give more, than compared to action film. That was more of physicality, right? Physicality and the way you move and everything. That they focus that more. And since I've done that a little bit now already, I really don't want people to just think, oh, this guy, because people have told me, like like directors or producers whom I meet, like they say that you are like full action type,
Action.
yeah, romantic, I don't know if you can do. So I don't want to give that thing. I'm like, no, 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 I want to do romance so that I can show people that okay, this is also capable, I'm capable of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Rajat, it was wonderful knowing you. And I think as a person, more than as a filmmaker, is something that we discovered today. And I can't go on but just talking about you and the talent pool that you are. It's amazing to catch up with you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I really, felt nice talking to you, like it felt good. Like, rarely like now off late, like I feel like, that's what I wanted to do, right? Talk to people about what I have done. That's where I've been, telling everybody that, there's a story behind making this and getting it out. So I've really felt nice, that you called me on this, gave me that opportunity to talk. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And one important question that I completely forgot: who's the woman behind all this inspiration?
A woman behind all this inspiration, I think it should be my mother, because like she told me that, because she, as I said, she is in corporate, she works on, she is result driven, and yet she notices the hard work. Like, if the hard work is there, then the results are bound to come. So when I'm staying in the house and every day she's noticing what I am doing, whether I'm working at it, whether I really want it. So in my head, I can't just fake it, right? I need to be really into it. So that's sort of like put me mentally in a place where that, what, like I need to keep working on this, whatever I'm doing, just give your 100%, and let's see how that goes. That 100% has to be, known that okay, you're giving it. And yeah, so I
So
think
you're very close to your
subconsciously
mom.
it's very yeah. So subconsciously it is there is that driving force
Yeah,
in the back.
I could see it from your face when you're talking about your mom that the cheeks are glowing up
Yeah, because
completely.
like because she is the first person to take a control, whether I'm going to do it. Or dad on the other side, like he's on a softer side. Like he's like, he would try to make sure that in a larger perspective things are going fine, and okay, you're doing this, you're doing that, but looking at the end goal.
So
But mom,
matriarchy rules in your house.
huh?
Matriarchy is the ruler in your house.
I don't know. Maybe could be. I don't know. It's like balanced. Somebody has to balance it out. No, somebody is. If both of them are like the same, then how can you, get that closure from one person? Like, how can you shift, right? So it's like every time when we have discussions at home, so we get two different perspectives. My dad gives like an immense amount of perspectives on how it has to go ahead, and mom looks at the tiny details.
Oh,
Okay, the larger game is seen there, but I'm looking at the smaller steps, because that eventually goes. So it's both mixed, which sort of makes me also think the same way, even through my work, even through my projects. So I look at that from best of both kind of thing.
I'm
So
sure she'll have another story and another set of untold story to talk about.
yeah,
And Asmi is all about women untold stories, but I love to hear that what exactly you have done. It has given inspiration to many women out there who are just thinking about it and who have, and many would have got inspired just to see you while Yeah, I'm sure about it. So
I
if you
hope
guys
so.
want to take his number or ask for his number, please do mention in the comment, share, like, subscribe, and that is when I might just think about giving you as a bounty. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure, definitely, definitely.
So, okay, guys, I think that this interesting episode has to come to an end. But if you have thought about it, I think that that is something that you should go for. If there is a passion that you are planning to pursue, be it a major shift, it could be something drastically different, but if you have thought about that, yes, this is something that I want to go for, this is something I want to do, please don't sit back. Procrastination to a certain level is okay, but this is the time when we have to be out there and do things. Different career options. It can be entrepreneurship that you have been thinking about. It can be a startup idea that you have been thinking about and not really put your head into it yet. So start now, just like the way Rajat did, and you can do wonders like he has done. So be out there and don't enclose yourself into the doors and of the houses. I think it is time that we women have to come out and start doing our stuff as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. You're going to hear this on Spotify and many other channels. We are also doing a lot of work to help other underprivileged women to be out there and become financially independent. So please try to support us and hear from us, and do keep listening to us. This is Iti Rawat signing off from Asmi Podcast. Thank you so much.